Hi everybody, greetings precious friends. We're back in my kitchen today and we're going to do a recipe called Shakshouka, which is a Middle Eastern recipe of eggs simmered in a seasoned tomato sauce. And maybe people will say, yeah, that's not really carnivore, but you know, I've already defined what it means to me to be carnivore. And that means that I eat about 80% of my foods to 90% are animal-based and about 10% plant-based. And that as long as I'm getting all my nutrition from animal foods and I'm only eating plant-based foods as a seasoning or for enjoyment, I consider myself carnivore. I can go completely without plants if I want to, but I just don't want to. Why? I like a few plants. I don't eat much in the way of carby vegetables, but I do eat tomatoes. Okay, so what we have now, I'm going to move the camera over so you can see. There we go. What we have in here, this is our 10-inch skillet from last time, because this is going to be, again, an egg recipe. And in this skillet, there is a 16-ounce container of restaurant-style pre-made salsa. Okay, I do this just because it's easy, and it has most of the things in it that I want. Check the ingredient label to make sure it doesn't have anything you don't want in it. Or if you want to make your own tomato mix, I will post up a recipe and procedure in the show notes for doing that if you want to. But this is about being easy for me, so I use this because I like the taste of it. You can use it as spicy as you like, but keep in mind it's going to cook a while, and as it cooks it's going to get spicier. Keep that in mind. Okay. And again, our hardware is the same as for the cream poached eggs. Our 10-inch skillet. We're going to need a lid. Give me a sec. Here we go. Our 10-inch skillet with our lid, our spatula, our large tablespoon, and our slotted or our pierced spoon. Okay? Same as last time. Now, this 16 ounces of salsa, and it is thinned with about 8 ounces of water. That's half of this container. Too close. There we go. Half of that container of water. That's about a cup. And once again, it's because this is going to have to cook for a little while and you don't want it to over reduce. So we're going to turn that on and we're going to wait for it to get nice and hot and happy. We're going to lid it up because that makes it happen faster. And in the meantime, we're going to come over here and talk about the rest of our ingredients. Here we go. There we go. And here we have our seasonings. 2 bay leaves. I got 2 big ones here. You could use 3 little ones or 4 dinky ones if you want to. Doesn't matter. Just about this much bay leaf. We got 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. You can use plain paprika if you want to. I just happen to really like the smoked paprika. This is Trader Joe's brand, which I really, really like. 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, whatever kind of ground cumin you like. And 1 teaspoon of ground coriander. If you don't know what ground coriander is the seeds of the cilantro plant. And it has a flavor reminiscent of cilantro, but kind of more floral and perfumier. And I just really like it in this recipe. Okay, and we also have 2 tablespoons of dried parsley, 4 tablespoons of cold butter. Butter is not traditional in a shakshuka recipe, but because this recipe is relatively lean, and I'm doing a high-fat I'm going to add some of this at the end. It needs to be cold, and you will see why a little later on. You'll see why it needs to be cold. But if you need to keep this in the refrigerator, go ahead to keep it cold. But it needs to be cold when it goes in. And it doesn't have to be chopped up in all these nice little bits. Just chop it into some random chunks. And of course, our 8 eggs for 2 servings for me and my hub. Okay. Okay, our salsa has begun to bubble. Okay. You don't want it boiling too vigorously just because it'll make a mess. And because the chunkiness of the salsa, sometimes if it boils too fast, it'll scorch on the bottom. So you don't want it boiling too fast. We're gonna let it continue to come up to temperature here for just a minute. You can see the bubbling. This is really good. This is gonna be how we want it. Now, I put the lid on to help it heat up faster, but for right now, we're gonna leave the lid off because we did put extra water in it, and the extra water was to help it keep from over reducing while it cooked, but we are going to want some of that water to cook out. So we're going to leave the lid off. And here we have our spices, and we're just going to go boop, dump. Okay, turning that down a little. Don't want it. See that? You don't want that. It's just going to make a mess on your stovetop, and it's not going to be helpful for the finished dish. Plus, it's more energy. And, I mean, if you can do the same thing with less energy, why not? Everybody has to pay for everything nowadays. We're going to stir this in. Combine it really well. We're going to turn it down some more. Actually, we're going to take it off the heat a little bit until the burner cools down. I have an electric stove, and sometimes it takes the electric stove element a minute to cool off after I turn the heat down. So we're going to combine this and turn and stir it up, make sure it's all real well combined, and make sure that the bay leaves are tucked down inside. So we don't want them necessarily floating around on the top because they don't infuse as well. Okay. So, there we go. And we're going to let this cook, and I'll show you my stove control. Don't know if you can see it. My stove control is on 2 now. I'm going to turn it. It's on the wide burner. This is a variable burner. I got the little tiny burner in the middle and the big wide burner, and it's on 2 on the big burner, and it's still too high. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it to like 2 on the small burner. So this is going to be medium low to low heat. There we go. Yeah, this is going really good. Yeah, don't hang over it and watch it until you're sure that it's bubbling at the right level. I'm going to leave it on 1 for now. Okay, now you don't need to do anything more to that. It can be happy just as it is. And it's going to cook on a simmer or on a low bubble like this for probably, the bay leaves need time to infuse. It's probably going to be about 10 minutes. Okay? 10 minutes, and I will see you back then. Hello again, friends. Our our tomato sauce has been bubbling away. Let me adjust my light here a little bit. That's better. And you can see how it's been bubbling. This is about how you want it to have been bubbling for your 10 minutes. And you can see that a lot of the water has reduced. It's gotten thicker. You can almost, it makes a trail when you draw your spoon through it. Okay. If it's really pasty, add some more water back in, because you do want enough water in here once again to poach your eggs. So this is ready now. You can take the bay leaves out if you want to, or you can just leave them in and work around them. I tend to leave them in and work around them and just take them out at the end. But you can take them out now if you're worried about accidentally serving them up to a diner. While the pan, I just want to say safety first. While the pan was unattended, turn your pot handles in. If you need to hang on to them, that's one thing. But when you're done handling your pot handle, turn it in. You do not want to bump against a hot pot handle, and you certainly don't want any children or pets grabbing them or bumping into them. Okay? Turn your pot handles in when you're not actively using it. I cannot stress that enough. So now that we've gotten here, you see our bubbles. They're very, very gentle. And just like in the last video with the cream poached eggs, we want a very gentle bubbling. We want the well stirred. And we're just going to introduce the eggs all at once. Here we go. The eggs are a little bit cold, so they're going to slow down the cooking. So we are going to turn up the heat for just a minute. I don't know if you can see how the eggs are already starting to solidify on the bottom. But once again, we don't want to mess with them. Whoops. I gotta tighten up my thingy here. There we go. See how they're starting to turn opaque on the bottom? There we go. See, it's starting to bubble again as I've turned the heat up. We're going to give this is going to be about 45 seconds to a minute. See how the eggs are starting to jiggle around pretty good now. So we're going to back the heat off a little bit. We don't want it too vigorous, but we do want it to stay very, very warm. We do want it bubbling a little bit. And now we're at the stage where, once again, we're going to, now that we see that the eggs have begun to solidify on the bottom, we can go ahead and start making sure that our eggs are loosened from the bottom of the pan, just like last time. Whoops. It doesn't matter if the whites get less than neat and tidy, because you're not going to see them anyway. So now everything is loose off the bottom of the pan. And now we're going to cover it for a little while. Adjust the heat to maintain the amount of bubbling that you want. We're going to take this off for now so you can see it. Okay. I'm going to baste the sauce over the top of the eggs. Hope my arm is not in the way. Okay. Pot handle in. Cover. Okay. And we're going to let this go 2 minutes maybe. Okay. I'll see you back in a minute. Hi again. We're back. Now you can see the amount of bubbling we got going on here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think, spots where it's actively, 6 spots where it's actively bubbling, 7. And yeah, that's about perfect. And now we're going to baste our eggs some more. This still has a little bit left to go. There's still some loose whites in here I can see. But we're getting very close to done. Like I said, don't worry if the egg whites don't stay completely stable and don't and just kind of get mixed in with the Shakshouka sauce. That's fine because, you know, it is what it is, and it's all going in the same place anyway. It's all going in the belly. So we're just going to sit here and baste the eggs until they are done to our liking. I'm just waiting for the last of the egg whites to finish cooking because I've been cooking them really gently. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit because I want it to get done. This one over here is not cooking as fast as the rest, annoyingly. So I'm going to move the pan away, that edge of the pan, which is cooking faster, away from the burner, and just leave this side, which isn't cooking as fast, on the burner. You'll see my burner come on in a sec. There it is. The reason why this takes so long is because you're cooking them so gently. And you really do want to cook them as gently as you can. It's going to keep the whites tender. It's going to keep the yolks from turning hard and chalky. Okay, now I'm thinking they're getting close. I'm going to try and lift one and see where we're at. And it looks like all the white is cooked and the yolk is still soft on top. That looks great. Oh, I broke it. Or I broke something. Oh well, that happens. And we're going to lift the eggs out. Don't worry too much about how much sauce you get in with them. You're going to leave some in the pan, that's fine. There's 2 of them still stuck together. Whoop. Now, I know it looks messy and horrible, but that's okay because it's going to taste really good. So the sauce that you have left, you can just eat it this way. If you don't do butter for whatever reason, you can do the same thing. I'm going to turn the heat off. You can do the same thing with cold bacon fat or cold tallow. So we're just going to put the cold butter, this is why it needs to be cold, in the pan. And we're just going to stir it vigorously. And the butter is going to emulsify into the sauce. But you want the pan off heat. I'm going to take some of this from the... Take it out. And put it in with the butter. There. Yep, there's that darn bay leaf. My husband complains that whenever I cook with a bay leaf, he always ends up getting a bay leaf in his dish. So there's two. Now we know there's not a bay leaf in his dish. Just keep stirring and stirring and stirring until all the butter is melted. And then parsley. Boom. You can use fresh parsley if you want to, but I don't keep fresh herbs around much anymore because I don't use them fast enough to use them up. And now just gonna finish this. With the sauce. You can eat up all the sauce. You can save it for something else. That's fine. And I find that this is... Here we have the finished dish right here. I find that this is delicious with a dollop of sour cream. I know I did say that this was going to be for people who don't do as much dairy. But I think I'm going to move the camera to the other dish. Jeez, I'm sorry I'm having such trouble aiming. Okay, I don't know why I can't get this darn thing to tighten up. Excuse me, being the amateur cameraman. There. But I'm going to put a dollop of sour cream on here, or a dollop of Greek yogurt. I've also had this with cotija cheese, Mexican taco cheese, fresh queso fresco. It's excellent. But anyway, this is, pardon the dirty bowl. I'll get better at this as I go along. So there it is. That's shakshuka, a poached egg dish. I know I've been doing I've been only doing eggs, and a lot of people are probably not buying eggs because of the egg shortage. But here where I live, I did notice that the egg bubble is slowing down. So the case of 60 eggs in 2 weeks has not gone up in price. The store where I buy my eggs, last time I went, all they had was the 5 dozen case, and they didn't even have any smaller packages. They were fully stocked when I got there. The price is still going up a little bit for 1 dozen 18s and 3 dozen packages, but like I said, the 60 count, the 5 dozen, has stayed the same. So hopefully it's slowing down. Hopefully it will resolve, whether it's from new regulations or whether it's from the avian flu. I don't know. All I can say is, if there was this kind of shortage in corn, wheat, or soy, the government would be jumping in and going, oh my God, we have to save all these poor farmers who are going to starve to death and their businesses are going to fail. You know, because, you know, corn, wheat, and soy are what big food depend on. So we can't let them fail. And then, of course, you know, but if the egg farmers or the dairy farmers or the cattle ranchers get in trouble, well, we don't need them anyway. They're bad people anyway because they abuse animals. So we can just let them rot. And besides, the food that they grow makes people strong in body and mind. And, you know, we can't have a constituency that's physically strong and able to think, because if we had that, you know, maybe they wouldn't take their quarterly my Sharona jab. And if we don't do that, then boy, how can we fulfill all of our under the table handshake promises that we made to big food and big pharma? Anyway, yeah, I'm cynical. That's the end of my rant for today. But anyway, I love you all. Peace, love, and meat. Enjoy your eggs if you can get them. And very soon we're going to have a meat recipe. I'm going to show you my oven braised beef ribs. This is awesome, folks. You're going to love these. I promise. See you later. Bye.